So this is a video I've tried to record like 3 or 4 times now, and, I'm just going to start reading and we're going to see where it goes. Number 1, sometimes it feels like YouTubers waste a lot of time on intros. It's just funny how we try to cover it up with cute little phrases like, smash that notification bell.
And smash his face with an iron!
But it's not even just likes and comments and subscriptions anymore. Now it's all like, first we gotta talk about our sponsor, Skillshare. Also, while you're at it, go check out our merch store and you can get this shirt here. Let's zoom in on it for a few seconds. And we got the Patreon, so if you want to go over there, here's all the exclusive stuff you can see there. We got our new website, bimothytishop.com, and you can go there, tap in. But, at the end of the day, you don't have to do any of that. Just chill with us. Just make sure you watch all the way to the end of the video, though. Yeah, please do that. I guess I can't really speak anyway. I've done sponsored streams, and I've brainstormed about starting a Patreon, but enough about that. Maybe someday I will do that. Either that or Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi. Coffee. That was number 1, by the way. This is number 2. I used to think everybody knew what they were doing. There was just a certainty about the world, and I couldn't wait to get to that point and be a part of that myself. Now I go back and I think about oddly specific things, like the video to No More I Love Yous by Lennox. My sister and I used to think that this video was so funny back in the day, but when we would watch it, I had no doubt in my mind that this lady knew exactly what she was doing. There was such a confidence and a kind of deliberateness to it all. Now I watch it and I'm just like, holy crap, she really was just winging it, just like we all are. I'm sure that most of the video was planned and choreographed and all that, but no matter how much you prepare for something, there are always small things that you just have to fill in yourself. Spontaneous things like, how wide open should your eyes be? How big do you smile? How long do you hold this look? Almost everything I see now, especially in the last few years, I wonder how much of it was planned and how much of it was just an actor winging it. And with how beautiful it turned out to be in the end, it kind of makes me wonder how important planning really is. Number 3, taste is the worst of the 5 senses. Misophonia notwithstanding, because I know that is a thing for a lot of people, but taste is seriously the only sense that damages you when you try to satisfy it. None of the other 4 senses do that. If you satisfy your sense of sight by looking at something beautiful, or looking at someone you love, or strolling up and down a nature trail, that does no damage to you. If you satisfy your sense of sound, whether by listening to music or white noise, or ASMR if you're into that, or calling your mother so you can hear her sweet voice, or listening closely to the sound of a cat purring, none of that damages you. If you satisfy your sense of touch by getting a massage, taking a hot bath, snuggling up under a blanket, none of that damages you. And if you satisfy your sense of smell by stopping in at a bakery, taking a whiff of your partner's hair, or just adding some citrus to that aforementioned hot bath, none of that will damage you. But lo and behold, we have taste. And the moment you attempt to satisfy that with anything awesome, whether it's Coke, fried chicken, candy, cake, french fries, ice cream, potato chips, boom, damage dealt. Sure, it makes you feel better in the moment, and I guess an argument could be made that the mental benefit would outweigh the physical effects if you stay active enough. But still, it's also the only one of the 5 senses that I would say is annoying to watch someone else satisfy. Unless, of course, it's this guy. Then it's just awesome. Number 4. One of my favorite compliments that I ever received when I wrote for epinions.com came from this guy, Jeff Wilder 78. He called me Iconoclastic. I didn't even bother to look the word up. It just sounded so cool that I didn't want to ruin it. But then like 10 years later, I started seeing the word iconic going around. More and more and more and more, to the point that now it's one of the most overused words on YouTube. Right up there with genuinely.
Who genuinely care. Someone can genuinely care about you. Genuinely caring.
That is genuinely interesting to me.
And like a moron, I just assumed it was the same word and they just shortened it. But I hated that because I thought Iconoclastic sounded so much cooler. Number 5. I like permanent goals. Goals that once you've met them, you're just done. You can just stop. You can just relax. You've earned the prize, and that prize can never be taken away from you. Maybe this is just a thing that happens when you play a lot of video games. You think, oh hey, when I max out these magic levels in Secret of Mana, I'm done. That's it. I get to see the special effects every time. When I get all the Albed primers in Final Fantasy X, I can decode the message. I can understand the language. That's it. I'm done. But then you have real life goals, which more often than not feel like bottomless pits. Pits that you just have to keep putting in and putting in and putting in.
You don't know what it's like when you try and you try and you try and you try and you don't ever get there.
Whether it's working out, eating healthy, being in a relationship, or fighting depression, you can set goals, you can meet them, but then you could lose all of your progress in the blink of an eye. It feels like there's no finish line, or if there is, it just moves another mile up the road every time you cross it. The thing is that you never really get to say, I did it. You know, you could be Arnold Schwarzenegger and you still don't get to say, I did it, because you're not done. You're never done. It's like busting your ass to save up a bunch of money, and then one day you get to $10,000, and you think, hey, that's great, until you discover that now you're going to have to keep busting your ass, just like you were doing before, to keep the balance at $10,000. I mean, I get it. It's a lifestyle change, I know, everybody says that, but it's also a bottomless pit. I guess it just depends on how you look at it. Number 6. I really can't stand automatic flushing toilets, especially as an overstimulated introvert, because holy ironclad cock sandwich on a stick are those things loud. Why do they have to be so freaking loud? And half the time they go flushing before you're even done, and if you're lucky they don't splatter your butthole just as you're sitting down, which actually happened to me last week. I looked like that guy in Angels in the Outfield, except with toilet water instead of nachos. So if the answer for why they're so loud is so that they can power wash the germs away, I'm still not sure how that justifies the water actually exiting the toilet and onto my butthole. Who knows how far that splash goes if it's just somebody standing next to it. Some of that is going to be getting on your legs or something. It seems like bathroom privacy is kind of on the way out too. Just look at this. You're sitting there taking a dump and you're putting on a free show, man. It's like a glory hole, except for... I'm just gonna stop there. Number 7. I have a lot of weird Wheel of Fortune thoughts. Every time I watch Wheel of Fortune, I always have one of the same 2 songs stuck in my head afterwards.
Well, it's a good start. It is.
Every time somebody on Wheel of Fortune says they have 7 kids, my first thought is, oh great, that means 7 more cars on the road in another few years. I mean, I'm not like anti-life or anything, but I am very ferociously pro-time. And then there's that thing where the host says, grab your devices. I don't know when this started happening with me and that word, because I'm sure they've been saying it for years now. And to be fair, Wheel of Fortune never really had buzz-in questions before, like almost any other game show did.
Constitution. Stop at 500 and a spin.
But devices? Man, it's such a phone culture word. Is phone culture even a thing? I guess Google thinks so. Number 8. When I was in grade school, my mom would always pack my lunches for me. I still remember having this little Pac-Man lunchbox that I used in the 1st grade. So every day when I would sit down to eat lunch, I would open that thing up and I would just get this overwhelming sense of sadness. Like I had this whole lunch prepared for me, but mom wasn't with me. I had something that she'd made for me, but I didn't have her. You know how when somebody dies and you keep behind little keepsakes to remind you of them? After the divorce, I used to keep stuff from mom's house when I knew I wasn't going to be seeing her for a long time. And opening these lunches sort of felt like that. Like I had this thing from her right there, but I wasn't allowed to see her. Sometimes when she made bologna sandwiches with mayo and mustard, she would draw a smiley face with the mustard, or she would write I love you inside of the sandwich. Man, those were such simple times. Number 9. Is it just me, or are lids getting harder to close these days? It used to be you just put the lid on, twist to the right, and you were done. And now it's like you start twisting to the left again, and you end up twisting left and right, trying to get it lined up or whatever it is. This could very well be just my imagination. I mean, maybe it was always like this, or maybe it's just Coke bottles, I don't know. Number 9.5. This is a long one. Okay, let's do it. About a year ago, there was a post on Twitter from some guy talking about how he watches anime shows at 3 times speed, but during the fight scenes, he will always slow it down to normal speed. I don't know a lot myself about what goes into making shows, but I do believe that storytelling is about more than just relaying information. It is about pacing, it is about the speed, the body language, the deliberate pauses in conversation to let something sink in. I mean, at least if you were watching it at a consistent 1.25 or even 1.5 times speed, maybe an argument could be made that pacing is relative and you'd still at least get the intended feeling out of it, similarly to how a song still sounds good when you speed it up. But if you're sitting there trying to min-max your freaking life to the point you've got one hand on the speed dial for the entirety of a TV show, I just don't know how you could possibly be enjoying it. Then again, maybe they're not watching it for the enjoyment, maybe they're trying to cram as much information in as little time as possible so they can go make YouTube videos about it. Man, I've gotten cynical. It reminds me of The Matrix, where Keanu Reeves learns Kung Fu from this machine in like 10 seconds. I think if a machine like this existed in the real world, people would be lining up out the door for it. It would probably also cost millions of dollars. But if you look at most upgrades in video games, for example, here we go with video games again, it's like, yeah, I'm doing double damage now, but why is that awesome? Because it makes the game easier, sure. But there's also the fact that now stuff just takes less time. On occasion, saving time is actually the sole purpose of an upgrade, and difficulty has nothing to do with it. It's not like chopping trees in Stardew Valley is difficult, but how good does it feel when you get that iridium axe and down them in 2 hits? You're getting the same materials that you would have gotten if the tree had took 10 hits, you just get it in less time. Maybe that's why people speed up videos. They figure, well, hey, I'm gonna get the same thing out of it either way, might as well expedite the process. So I kind of understand both sides here. Anyway, back to this machine for a second. I'm guessing that some people would say, well, no, this is not the same as learning Kung Fu, because you didn't put the time and the effort in. But then, how do we know what exactly Neo is perceiving here? Maybe the machine is emulating the time and effort, similar to how they say time moves slower in dreams, even if it feels normal to us. What if that's what's happening here? And if the end result is the same, does it matter? I realize I'm teetering on the brink of defending AI art here, which is not my intention at all. Fuck AI art. It still has to come from a person. It still has to come from a soul. Besides, I know this wouldn't track in the real world as it is. If this machine actually existed, it would ruin everything. It would make everybody special, so nobody would be special.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Of course, I think some might say we've reached that point of oversaturation already. How did we get to this from a guy speeding up anime videos anyway? Welcome to my world. Number 10. I've played Pac-Man all my life. I've seen the arcade cabinets hundreds of times. I still don't know who this is. Like, is it Pac-Man? Because I always pictured Pac-Man as just being this orb with no legs and a huge mouth. Sort of like how he looks in the movie Pixels. I know they gave him legs in Smash because, well, they had to. And of course Miss Pac-Man has legs, so it would stand to reason that he does too. Maybe from an overhead view, his legs are just underneath him and you can't see them. But if that were the case, it would mean that his mouth was opening vertically and not sideways. I know I'm just overthinking it at this point, but I just don't picture him as even remotely looking like this. This looks like those green smiley enemies you fight in Zelda Minish Cap. Number 11. Man, I miss the days when it used to rain like this. It feels like now it just goes for weeks on end without, and then when it finally does, it just blows its wad all at once for like a half hour. Number 12. In the movie Twister, Jo, played by Helen Hunt, is traumatized by an experience she had with a tornado as a kid. She grows up and falls in love with Bill Paxton, and then they go storm chasing. One day, an experiment goes wrong, and all of her childhood trauma comes blasting out into Bill Paxton's face.
You've never seen him miss this house, and miss that house, and come after you!
As logical beings, we know there was no intent on the part of the tornado, sure. But as emotional beings, as sympathetic beings, we also hopefully can at least acknowledge that Jo's childhood experience had the same effect on her whether it was intentional or not. So where do you go from there? Do you just have to ignore the effect? Do we just have to not care how things affect us? Number 13. When Anakin Skywalker took out the Tusken Raiders in Attack of the Clones, I kinda wanted to cheer. I know more recent releases like The Mandalorian have tried to humanize them, but in 2002, all we had was 5 films, a Christmas special, and those 2 Ewok movies. The only things we had ever seen the Tuskens do at this point in time was to attack and try to pillage Luke's speeder, shoot at innocent pod racers, joyfully, and in Attack of the Clones capture an innocent woman and torture her to death. I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and assume that Shmi is not the first victim here, and she probably wouldn't have been the last. Sure, Anakin caused suffering, but he also prevented it. I'm sure that preventing suffering wasn't on his mind in that moment, though. Revenge was. And that's the problem. The thing that breaks my heart about that scene that I never hear people talk about is how Shmi tries to tell Anakin that she loves him in her last breath, and she can't even finish the sentence.
I love...
They took even that away from her. Took even that away from him. And I'm not one of those hashtag Anakin did nothing wrong people. No, he did some detestable things. And while I might be on the fence about whether I condone his actions here, I definitely at least understand them. Number 14. I associate long sleeves with kindness. I felt like wearing long sleeves made me look kinder, or maybe cuter? I felt the same way when I saw other people. Long sleeves made them look kinder, even though I couldn't possibly know how kind they were. I'm not certain about this, but I think that some of the association here comes from me watching too much TV. You don't say. Look no further than the final fights in all 3 Karate Kid movies. Here's Daniel LaRusso, the good guy, in long sleeves for all 3 of the fights. Hell, in the Chosen fight, he's got 2 layers of long sleeves. Guy must have been burning up. But then the bad guys. Johnny Lawrence, no sleeves. Chosen, no sleeves. Mike Barnes, no sleeves. What they do have is the ego and the swagger, and with it came the association. I didn't want to present myself like that. Even super short sleeves gave me that vibe, like Biff in Back to the Future, or Kay in Sword in the Stone, or Gaston, or Bluto and Popeye. I think I just started to associate it with meanness. Maybe if I'd watched Die Hard as a kid, I wouldn't be like this. And that's my 14 or maybe 15 thoughts. There's one I'm not sure I'm going to put in yet, but yeah. that's them. I got some other ideas. I just kind of, more or less, I kind of wanted to get this one out of the way. I'm not going to spoil what I have in mind for the future here, but I have stuff in mind. So, looking forward to it. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging with me. Be sure to smash that subscribe.
Smash his face with an iron!
See you later. Bye.